Good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Anna Reyes, and I serve as the Director for Parent and Family Programs. And I'm thrilled that you've decided to join us today for our second virtual coffee chat. So historically, our coffee chats would take place in your local hometowns. They would be hosted by parents and family members of our current students. And it's just really kind of a great opportunity for you to meet current Wildcats, learn about the University of Arizona and the Wildcat Way. So I appreciate your patience and flexibility as we move into this virtual format to try and connect with you. So before we get everything started and I introduce our host for today, I wanted to run through some house rules and how this coffee chat's going to function and some of the capabilities that you have available to you. Each of you have been muted and your video functionality is turned off. But if you get your mouse and you hover it towards the bottom of your computer screen, some control panels will pop up, and at that point you'll see a Q&A button. So go ahead and click on that Q&A button, and there you will have the ability to type in questions. I have incredible colleagues who are also joining us behind the scenes who are going to be answering those questions for you. So I encourage you to read through the questions, see the answers that we're providing, and maybe something that you didn't even realize you had, a question you didn't realize you had will be answered. My colleague Jeff, who you're going to meet in just a second, and I are going to read through some of those questions at the end of the coffee chat, so you get to hear us kind of speak through them and go into it in a little bit of detail. Just a quick reminder, we are going to continue to host these virtual coffee chats for about 4 more weeks, and the topics are going to vary each week with the host that I invite to join me. And so I invite you to come back and join us every week and meet some of our family members. The other thing that I wanted to share is the links are unique for each session. So you'll have to re-register, and then our department will send you a link and you can just click and join us like you did today. So without taking up any more of your time, I want to thank my hosts that are joining us today and do some quick introductions. So first off, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Jeff Sommerfeld, who serves as the Associate Director for Undergraduate National Recruitment. Jeff is going to be sharing admissions and recruitment information, dates, deadlines, and all things related to that admissions process and the University of Arizona. I'm also going to invite Neil Clover from Ringo's, New Jersey, and he serves as a board member for the Parents and Family Association Advisory Board. His daughter, Marissa, returned home just a few weeks ago, where she's wrapping up her 2nd year at the University of Arizona as well. So Neil, I want to thank you for being with us today as one of our coffee chat hosts, and I'm going to start off with our very first question. And when I think about the distance from New Jersey to Arizona and the logistics of transportation, moving a college student across the country, staying connected, I'm hoping that you can share with us, first off, why you chose Arizona.
Thanks, Anna Marie, and thanks for having me and being able to share this experience is a fun thing to do. Marissa is a very independent student, and her role in her thinking about her school, I guess the big fit stuff that she was really looking at is she, as we went through 10 different universities in about 6 different states, her big things were, had to be a Research One university. She wanted to be involved with research as an undergrad, and Biosphere 2 specifically had her interest. The second thing was the Honors College itself, between the priority registration, the living with other honor students, and in the new honors village as well. Although she started in Largo the first year, scholarships and the like were really important things. The third thing was a variety of majors and minors. She really liked the idea because she wasn't sure about what major she really wanted to do. So she wanted some ability to move around and change those options as she went along. I think fourth was school spirit, and she really got to see that. It was April 15th of 2018 when we went to Admitted Students Day. And she got to see the kids and really got a feel for what the school was like and how everybody was, and the different parts of the puzzle were they all fell into place for her. And in fact, that was the day she decided, and she chose not to sign the they had the big signature event on the mall there, and she chose not to sign. She said, "You know what? I'm really into it, but I want to make sure tomorrow morning I still feel the same." And tomorrow morning she felt exactly the same. So it was really a great experience. And then the last part was the mountains. She loves Mount Lemmon, Saguaro National Park, and all the different trails around Tucson and things like that. So I think her fit was really the balance, balance between academics, the outdoor, the exploration, the people, and the school spirit, and it worked out really well for her. So it was a great choice. But for us as her parents, it was a little. At times we were like, "Wow, she's going to be 2,500 miles away," so it became a big deal for us to think about. And some of the pictures were the move-in day of Arbol de la Vida, which was her first dorm. She loved living in that dorm. That was the honors dorm 2 years ago, and a great experience. The floor really came together. All the kids and the move-in experience, as Roger talked about last week, was excellent. What a great first-year experience it was for her. And then as time went on, she ended up getting an internship with the biosphere, which is what she wanted to do. So her second semester, she jumped into the biosphere itself, and that research opportunity came from a $3 million project that was an international project on the rainforest and how it would deal with drought and CO2 emissions. So she got to work with a bunch of postdocs and things like that, and it was really kind of an amazing experience for her. So that's how she spent her spring semester.
She was very, very busy.
Yeah.
And Jeff, if you want to come in and join us, and
absolutely,
I'll let you continue questions.
Wonderful. Neil, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. So my role, I get to oversee our national recruitment team. And so my little sister, she chose the University of Arizona, and she moved from Minnesota to do so, and just graduated this past year with her degree from the College of Education. And so as she was thinking about that, she was really starting to examine, okay, how would flights work? How do I get back for holidays and those kinds of things? Neil, I'd love to hear from your perspective, coming from the East Coast, from New Jersey. How does that work for students and families to be able to have that transition back and forth between sunny Arizona and then to get back to your beautiful neck of the woods as well?
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, no, that was one of the concerns, especially for my wife, who doesn't travel as much as I do. But one of the key things was trying to figure it out and how she would get there on her own, because we weren't used to traveling. When we traveled as a family, I always took care of everything and ran everything. So with Melissa, we ended up flying into Phoenix first as our first choice, because it was the direct flights, and I had taken into account, well, if it's winter time, and you mentioned Minneapolis, a hub for Delta and other airlines, but we didn't want to necessarily have her do a hop flight. We wanted a direct flight from the East Coast, so we chose Phoenix, and then then we set her up with the Bloom bus, which is the shuttle. So we were a little concerned at first just how it would work, and then when we found out, we did it ourselves with her the first time. It was so easy, and everything worked out so well. So we did direct flights to Phoenix from Newark or Boston, or you can do it from most East Coast airports. And then you take the bus, because the bus is like a 2-hour ride, and then the Groom is like $40. The Flix bus is $15. They drop you off. I think the Flix drops you off right across from the Athletic Center on 6th Street, and then the Groom bus drops you right off in front of Arbol and Coronado. So it was as easy as possible, and it got to the point where I did the first one for her. Now she picks how she gets back, and now she's starting to do work out of Tucson and do a connector flight through, like, we use United, so you go through like Houston or Chicago or somewhere that way, or Southwest will go through Chicago Midway as well. But it's not something that is at first it's a little unsettling, I think, having your child. And once you realize that they got this totally under control, and it's like we just know when she's coming home now, and she does all her own arrangements and figures everything out. And it's actually pretty nice.
That's wonderful. So I think one of the things that I love most about my role, we have some tremendous student workers who come and they get just wonderful growth and development opportunities in our office, and to be able to facilitate that in our roles. I know Marissa's been working on campus since her first year with us. And so I'm really curious about some of her experiences with some of her work as a student, how she balances kind of the coursework on top of some of that part-time work, and kind of what that experience has been like for her.
So no, it's a great question. I mean, it's funny because it ties into travel a little bit too. So the first semester she was here, she got involved with the ambassadors. So they do the tours and across campus, and she absolutely loved it. So she was doing that, and it came to, we're talking about travel. Came to Thanksgiving. I said, "All right, Marissa, I'll fly you home. When do you want to come, and how do you want to come back?" She said, "No, I'm gonna stay here. I'll see you in December." And so her involvement in the different clubs that she was involved with in the different parts of the honors college itself, the ambassadors, and then she was working with some science on some science projects as well. Just really, she just got so involved with everything that it changed the way our family functions. So it's funny. So the following year for Thanksgiving, we end up flying to her now because of these kind of things, and she just loved it. And it gives us a great chance to visit. But then in the spring, she got a internship at the Biosphere itself, and that worked out really. She enjoyed it, and then they hired her for an internship over the summer, and then she stayed all through the last summer as well. So it's been just an overall great experience in how she's the academics and the ties in with the science background and the pieces that she wanted to do. Because one of the key things I mentioned earlier was she wanted a variety of majors, and because she wasn't 100% sure what she wanted to do, pure research, medicine, agronomy, biology, all these kind of natural things. She's a natural hiker sort of person, and she loved the idea that she could do all these different things. So it helped her find her way, and she's now switched majors to a pre-med major, and it was really interesting because without that involvement, she wouldn't have found exactly what she was looking for, and I think she's settled in now, which is good. But it's nice to see your kids find themselves on their own without, the parent. We try to stay out of her decisions because we know they're her decisions, and we're really proud of the way the school supported her and made it so easy. The different advisors she's had and the people she's talked to, both in the honors college and in the majors themselves, were instrumental in making all these things happen and saying, these are the way this kind of major works, and this is what's good for this background, and just it's such a great situation. We just kind of watch now, and she fills us in on all the latest updates and what's happening.
That's excellent. We know so many of our students who come to us, they're well-rounded and they have interests and they have strengths in so many different areas. And for students like Marissa to be able to find that path and to be able to play to those strengths, play to those passions, have the support along the way, that's so much of what we aspire to within our Wildcat community. So that's tremendous to hear. Thanks for sharing that, Neil. On our campus, we have a number of different dormitories too, and I see Marissa's lived in 3 of the different dorms, and I know families are often asking me and students ask me all the time, what are the different dormitories like? You have a number of different districts on campus. Can you speak to that a little bit as well from Marissa's experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 3 different dorms she was in, Arbol being the first. One thing I'll say across the board is the dorms are all super nice. We were, I expected more of a variation in how nice they were. All 3 that she's been in are fantastic. One of the things that we used was we used the on-site, the website itself to go through each one, understand the costs and understand where they were and the location. So Arbol was her first, and that was the honors school itself. She just where that's located and how that was set up was really a good first year situation for her. One of the things she liked the most about it was Arbol has a shared bathroom for the groups, and she found it was a great way to meet people. And just because people had to be out more, more often. Some people like their own bathroom, and that's the new honors dorm kind of set up. And it's a little, there's more privacy in that, and a little different, more science in some of the rooms and things like that. But overall, between the 2 honors, she's enjoyed living in both, and she's really glad she stayed on campus because you meet a lot more people and you really kind of get a feel for what you want to do, and I think that also helped. for what she was doing. And then in the summer, she was what they call VDP, Villa del Puente, which is down near the football field, and that's almost like a little town down there. The way that's set up, it's like a city street in maybe the Village in New York. It's a low-rise sort of setup, and that's got a whole different feel as well. So I would recommend people just walk around if they can. If not, use the website like we did, because we were obviously didn't have the ability to walk around as much. But you can really get a feel for the dorms and what they're all about. And but our experience in the dorms has been excellent. That's why she's 2 years in the dorm so far.
That's wonderful. And we call that the Highland District. I've been told they're the best burritos on campus and maybe even in all of Tucson. And they are tremendous.
Yeah, and to your, it's funny you say that. So the two really good things about those dorms, that and the new honors, is they're both across from the athletic center. So you have basically the gym right across the street, which is super nice.
Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to ask about, and parents ask me quite a bit, is kind of the safety on campus and communication that you can receive back home, as a parent about what's happening on campus. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with our communications related to campus safety?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's it's a piece when your child's 2,500 miles away and you feel like you want to know what's going on. And there's different ways. Obviously, we text a lot between our daughter, and that seems the most with photos and things. We do phone calls with the family, and especially at a family event if it's somebody's birthday or something like that. But the one thing that's really fantastic is the U Alert system. So we use that, and you just subscribe to it, and you'll find out, that they're shutting down our ball for 3 hours for the water. They're going to replace a water main outside, and you learn all these kind of things that you actually feel like you're part of the campus. Or this road is closed. There was an accident at this spot. And sometimes you know the road. Sometimes you find out it's pretty far away from school. But it's really kind of neat. So it kind of brought us into the fold of what's going on specifically around campus, and we love that. So we're all tuned into it, and it's neat. You learn, if there's a power outage. I mean, we're having a big storm on the East Coast right now. And if there's a power outage or anything like that, you learn about it, you learn what's going on, and it just makes it simple for everybody, and you really feel like you're part of the campus.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I think the last question I wanted to ask you, Neil, pertains to this past month. So things have been very different for all of us around the country here, and wanted to kind of get your insights into what Marissa's experience has been like with this unexpected transition here.
Yeah, no, it's a really big one. Obviously, there's a lot going on across the country, and there was a lot of a lot of reason to be concerned. And one of the things that we saw, and we didn't know how this was playing out. Obviously, it's a lot more clear now than it was a couple months ago. But one of the key things that we saw was some of the schools on the East Coast specifically had basically just said, okay, we're shutting down and everybody's got to get out. And we were worried about what was going to happen to Marissa, so we'd heard that. And then we saw Arizona's reaction, which was like, if you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. It really took the edge off a lot, and we really appreciated the option. And the only reason we brought her back home was we had heard at the time that the airlines were going to shut down and they were not going to do any domestic flights or anything like that. So we didn't want that to be her to not be able to get back if things got progressively worse. So we were able to we brought her home, and some very, very nice people brought her to the airport and dropped her off, and that was, thank you very much, Anna Marie. and so we got help from a lot of people, both that worked at the university or through the biosphere and things like that really helped. But I really appreciated the option that they said, you can stay here, and actually looking back, Marissa probably wishes she did stay there, because the weather's been beautiful and not so much on the East Coast. But overall, I thought the reaction was fantastic, and it showed a caring that a large university usually, it's very difficult for a large university to do, but Arizona came off like it was a very small family in the way we saw how the reaction was.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Neil. Well, hopefully we'll be welcoming Marissa and your whole family back to campus soon here. So
we're all looking forward to it. We're looking forward to visiting too, because like I said before, we end up doing our vacations now, or our time off. Like last Easter, we spent in Tucson, and Marissa's grandfather came out. We all went out, and my mother-in-law, Marissa's grandmother, is, she's a typical retiree on a fixed income and is always very price conscious. When it comes to traveling for Easter, she's like, let's do it again next year. I mean, she's very into it. It's really changed the way we function and what we do for our vacation time and things like that. So it's kind of nice, and it's really kind of changed our attitude on a lot of things. So.
Absolutely. When my wife and I first moved, my wife earned her doctorate from the U of A, and when we moved there, my parents came to visit. We went to see old Tucson, where they film a number of movies that my dad watched when he was younger and still watches to this day, and the Sonoran Desert Museum, and so many different places to go and hike and get outdoors. Tucson is an incredible city and is just such a tremendous home for our university. So I'm glad you could come to visit, and thank you again, Neil, for taking time to meet with us today. We really appreciate it.
Jeff, thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, I want to make sure that I'm sharing a few updates with our guests that are here today. Thank you all for being here. We really, really appreciate it, and want to make sure that I give a few updates here for us on the admissions side and some of those enrollment pieces. And so we know with fall 2020 that we're continuing to work on what those final plans will look like. We hear a lot of leadership coming out of our university, a lot of hopeful optimism from our president. We are still working on finalizing those plans, and we're really dedicated to ensuring the safety of our students, including a special focus on our classrooms, our campus, and certainly our dormitories, as Neil was talking about today as well. And so we will be sure to keep our families and students posted as we continue to know more on those updates. With some of our deadlines, I do want to make sure that I give you some of those updates here. So as you may know, we have moved the enrollment deadline to June 1st. And so with that, that means that students who do choose to enroll with us and pay that enrollment fee to be able to secure their spot, they do have until June 1st. If plans do change for that family, they would be refunded that enrollment fee. And that is also the deadline that we've used for students to be able to qualify for merit aid scholarships. And so we do have incredibly generous scholarships for students coming to us from out of state. And so we have extended that deadline to June 1st as well. For our housing office, they are working really hard to make sure that things are ready for fall 2020. And so we do have a deadline coming up very quickly for our housing office. That is coming up tomorrow, May 1st. To pay the housing application fee, to complete the license agreement, and then to do that first down payment to be able to be in the student select group for those dormitories. For any of these things, from the enrollment fee to housing to placement exams or health immunization records, any of those things that students need to do to prepare for enrolling, they can do that on their Next Step Center. So it is one-stop shop for them to be able to do everything they need to become Wildcats with us for fall 2020. Also want to give an update for our May and June orientation sessions. Those typically are held on campus. This year we will be hosting those virtually. And so everything that a student would have experienced other than walking the campus itself, they will still get all of the information that they need. They'll have the experience that they need to be fully ready to enroll with us as Wildcats through that virtual orientation. And students can sign up for that on Next Step Center. And they also have the opportunity within that to be able to get all of their info. We're sending out communications to students who have signed up to help them see exactly what that online format is going to look like. The other thing that I like to mention is with our high school transcripts. We know that there might be a bit of a delay to get those transcripts this year. Know that we're going to be flexible. We're working directly with your high school counselors and working really hard to make sure that we can get all of that set to make it a smooth process for enrollment. And then finally, we do have some really tremendous virtual options. You're here today, and we love that. And so thank you for coming to join us for this event. We also are doing some virtual tours. You can hear live presentations from admissions counselors. They're just as informed as I am, definitely funnier, probably not having as good of a hair day. And you can go and you can hear those. You can get real-time answers from our staff. And then we also have some really cool options called Ask a Wildcat, where you can speak to a living, breathing wildcat about their experience in their natural habitat on our campus as a student with us at the University of Arizona. We have college partners who are doing different virtual events, lots of different ways to connect and get the information that you need. So those are our updates right now, and I definitely want to pass it off to Anna Marie here as we start to kind of take a look at some of the questions that you've had to see what we can help answer for you.
Thank you, Jeff. Boy, the questions have been coming in. So I'm actually going to invite Neil back in. There were quite a few questions for you, Neil, and while we have you here, I'm hoping you can go through some of them with us. A lot of them were transportation. When you first moved, Marissa, to Arizona, did you fly? How did you get her room set up? Did you purchase things when you arrived here? Did you just take a bag? So kind of like the logistics of that first move-in. What did that look like?
Well, that's a great question. Without seeming like an advertisement, we went to Bed Bath & Beyond, and in that store they have all the, and this is local in New Jersey, so this is central New Jersey, we went to Bed Bath & Beyond. They have the whole dorm layout, and they tell you what you need, what the size of the beds are. So they basically, you look up University of Arizona, you get all the information. My daughter picked out everything she wanted, and then what they do is they'll have it ready for you in Tucson. So we literally brought nothing other than the clothes she needed, and flew in, rented a car, and then went to Bed Bath & Beyond, picked it all up. It was all ready to go, and you just bring it right to the dorm. So that's how we did it. It was as easy as you could imagine, and it gave us options that we didn't think it would. We didn't, logistically something always goes wrong. It literally nothing went wrong, which was amazing. And we came into Phoenix that time, and because we rented, she didn't need the bus for that trip. But that was a great way to do it. And they also, the school also sends flyers that you can follow through with those as well, if you don't want to do it the Bed Bath & Beyond way. But at the time, it was nice because we were just, my wife really enjoyed kind of physically going and picking it out with her, because she was kind of, there's something I think they enjoyed. But my son and I were kind of bored when they originally went, so it was good they went by themselves.
Yeah.
But it was nice to be able to do that.
So what I'll do, Neil, is you kind of mentioned it. Our Housing and Residential Life has some great resources online. Bed Bath & Beyond is one of them. And prior to COVID-19, family members could even go online and purchase all of the stuff and stop into the store here in Tucson, pick it up, and it would be waiting at the front of the store. So we'll share that. So what I've been doing is I've been reading through these questions. I'm going to be sharing all the links, answering the questions via email. But while I have you here, a question came in, I thought it was great. Knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently Marissa's first year?
It's that's another really good question. To be completely honest, nothing. Everything fell into place so perfectly. There were pieces to it that we put a lot of thought in. The one interesting thing was Marissa had gone. The biggest thing we were worried about was, or not worried, but thinking about, was a roommate situation. How would the roommate work out and stuff like that? So Marissa was thinking about whether I could jump in and grab a roommate, pick somebody, or go with the random choice. And I think that was our biggest kind of thing we put the most thought into. And she came out with the answer that said basically, well, if I pick somebody, I'm going to feel bad if I don't get along with them. But if it's random, it won't be like that. And so and since the success rate's about the same, that was about it. So she went with the random roommate and worked out perfectly. So it couldn't have worked out any better. So I'd say that was the one thing we were a little concerned with. But other than that, everything else fell into place. I mean, just the way the way you come into the school when you're ready to go. I would think the one thing we brought everybody too. So it was like her brother came as well. So we did that whole, and I would do that exactly the same as well. It wasn't just Marissa and her parents; it was her brother too. And I honestly would not change anything because I think it was a learning for all of us. And there were things I thought were going to go wrong. I couldn't understand how you can get 30,000 people into their housing in a short period of time like that. There was no traffic. There was no jams. It was just you drove up, they unloaded your car. They told you to move the car right away because other people were coming in behind you. And it was as easy as you can imagine. So, and you figure summertime in Tucson gets hot too.
Yes.
Everything could have been better. So it's like,
how often did Marissa come home that first year? What would you recommend? Was it Thanksgiving, winter break?
I was thinking Thanksgiving. She didn't come home till Christmas break, and she loved it that much, and we really kind of we felt we did miss her a little bit, but at the same time we felt fantastic that she had found her place, and everything worked out exactly as she had hoped. So we didn't see her till like December 15th or so. Well, I shouldn't say we didn't see her because we came out for family weekend, which was a huge one. So the family weekend or the homecoming weekend, I would recommend doing one of those. And again, it was more for us to come out and kind of get a feel, see, meet her roommates, all the different people she's friends with, and then you get some context of where does she go to class and which classes are in this science building and that kind of stuff. So it was really fun. And then the football game was, it's always fantastic, and that's why we chose that one photo of the stadium, because I wanted to walk around the stadium and get there early and sort of feel what it feels like. That's part of the experience as well. That's about an hour and a half before the game started, and the band was still on the field practicing and things like that. And it's just a great experience when you see that, and that was all part of the whole family weekend. So we got a real good feel for it, and it's neat. I literally wouldn't change a thing. I don't think. Yeah, I literally would not. It sounds like a weird answer, but it's true.
No, that's not a strange answer. So I know we're at we're a little bit past 3:30. We have about 5 more questions. And while we're wrapping up these questions, can you answer one more question? When she stayed on campus for Thanksgiving, who did she hang out with? Was she alone? Were there other students?
So that's a good question. So a lot of the kids had stayed for the most part. She ended up going for Thanksgiving with a friend that lives up in Mesa, and so they went up together. And then she came back, and that's what they did. But there were plenty of kids that stayed right at the school as well. But that was it was neat. It was she got to see what Thanksgiving's like in the desert versus
Nice.
the East Coast kind of thing.
Wonderful. So it looks like we have 5 questions that are open. I'm going to let my colleagues answer them. There were some great questions that came in. So I know that we've been sending links. I'm going to just very quickly, Neil, I'm going to run through them to just share what I'm going to share with the group via email as a follow-up. So I'm going to share the link to Housing and Residential Life. You had mentioned UAlert, so I'll share that link on how family members can sign up. We had a question about fraternity and sorority recruitment. How do their students participate in that process? So I'll share the link on where they sign up. The deadline is not until August. Somebody asked about meal plans. So we'll talk about that. I don't know if you can share what Marissa chose.
So at the time, it's like, was it gold, platinum, and I think it was the high, middle, and low kind of thing. So we just chose the middle because she figured she wasn't going for the football team or anything, so she probably wouldn't be on that side. So the middle actually worked out really well. I think it was a silver plan. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's right.
But that worked out really well. And then there's a different meal plan now with the new honors college. So that's why that was her first year. Now there's a different meal plan because there's more of a cafeteria in the new honors dorm that there was then.
A lot of questions when you first started speaking were on the buses that she used to get from the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport to Tucson. And I just wanted to mention that they're privately owned companies. So I know that they were specifically asking for the names. It was Groom and with a G, and the Flix bus. And so I'll share those links as well and what other options are available. And then family weekend dates I'll share, move-in dates and times, along with how you can sign up for the housing newsletter to receive all of that information as well. And I will read through all of the questions. There were quite a few that came in, but those really stood out to me. And I just wanted to thank you, Neil, Jeff. I really want to thank both of you for being here. I thought it was a great session. Everyone who's been on this call, we had about 136 guests registered. So I'll follow up with everyone with all of those responses. And we're going to just turn off our screens right now, our mics, and just allow those last, I think, two questions to be answered. And so I thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.